Hello, I don't really know what to film today, so you know what? I'm just gonna film this. If I leave the server, I'm gonna have this train is gonna despawn. So and I can't spawn it here. It has to be spawned at El Dorado over here. So you know, I'm just gonna. And since I don't really know what to do, I'm just gonna film this. Recently, I started playing. About around my birthday, I found this game again since I got do I call it an iPad? It's not an iPad, it's a Samsung Galaxy, so you know what, I'm just gonna call it a tablet for now. Okay, break. But ever since I found Heist and his 282 from the DNRGW 491, I've fallen in love with narrow gauge engines like this. So I'm kind of using this. You know what? I think I know what I'm gonna do. This is gonna become a review video of the game. So not while I'm doing stuff around the Aaron and El Dorado, we're just gonna be doing this. And yes, don't laugh at my avatar. Okay, okay. You know, okay, I'm kind of lying if I say it. I'm kind of not a... Okay, I definitely have a few okay, maybe I have a few things in common with a furry, but I don't want to be an animal. Okay, if a genie... Okay, if a genie said you have 3 wishes, I'd say, I want to be a lioness. But I'm not gonna try and be an animal any other way. I'm not gonna claim to be an animal, unless I'm joking. If I'm joking, then I'm absolutely gonna freaking do that. So, do I like this game? Of course, I freaking love this game. It's a narrow gauge, and it's got its own engines, and the developer was nice enough to have engines not just for the game, but also other ones that you can use. For example, the one I'm using right now, 478, it's a K28, so from the DNRGW, and also, I did not need to go up this far. Although, where am I going to put the, you know, we're just going to put these in a siding or something. So yeah, is it my favorite? Yeah, only rivaled by another game, it's called Auto Scale Central Railroad. I like that one for its what was it? Oh yeah, quantity of engines and the quality of models, although I definitely say in the places where this game falls behind, it is definitely not. Of course, that's more of an like a minimum, like a model thing. Although not really anymore, since you can't ride them. Well, you can ride them, you just can't like sit on the back of their tenders like you would with something like a 7 1/4 inch engine. So yeah, well, when we get back to El Dorado, you'll probably still see some other engines. 2 of them, actually 3 of them are here. If you don't know. But I think the thing I like most about this game, over the RSC, over Roblox Scale Central, is probably the Steam effects. Because in the more, like, slice-of-life realisticness that this game has, while that game is more of something like Train Simulator or Railroads Online. It's sort of a do-whatever-you-want, what this is more like a simulator of a Pacific Railroad. I did not need to put the fuel tanks over here. Actually, the fuel tank thing is right there, so you know, we're just gonna shove them right here. Sure, they may be blocking number 30, but we won't be using number 30. Oh, actually, we're just gonna go delete number 30. So, actually, this is actually a good chance to show off another thing I like. So, this game takes place in, like, I think 1946. But another thing is that, so if we delete an engine or if an engine's not here, so of course it's here, so I'm just going to delete it. We're going to spawn it. We can spawn it forwards or backwards, but you actually get a little bit of information about the locomotive. So, Aaron and its white wheel arrangement, which if you don't know what white is, it's not the color white. That's white with an I. The white for steam locomotives that isn't color related is spelt with a Y instead of an I. It's right here. This would be a 282 Mikado. But you also get other information like what company built it, when was it built, and some lore of the engine. In this case, 30 is a... Let me quickly read this. Acquired in 1940. Okay, so if you would read this, you would see that it's an experimental locomotive. It's the largest on the railway, and it was designed to take heavier trains coming from the coal mines. It's okay, but we're just going to leave this deleted. So that's a fun feature, and that's for all of them. There's another spawn that we'll get into soon, and then there is an update later today that's coming out at like 8:30 something tonight. This is being recorded on the 24th of January 2025. So by the time you're watching this video, if you're if you're hearing me speak, then of course you're watching. But by the time you see this video, the update will have already happened. I read like the thing on Roblox. Two favorite things I think I'm looking forward to are Rio Grande Southern number 20. It's not as much as anticipated as the K37 494. I did suggest on the Discord server to add 491 because I love 491. I fell in love with it after the K37 Kitchen by Heist. If you don't know what K37 Kitchen is, go watch it right now. After you watch this video, though. Wait, why do you need to stick around? I'm not getting anything from this. You know what? Go watch it right now. Click off this video. Go watch the entire series. It's by Heist. It's 11 episodes. There's a playlist of it. Watch it now. There was another engine that I saw that was in consideration. It's the DNRGW's proposed L75, which is a 2882. Currently, we only had two who sort of articulated. I think they're both simple articulated, so both high pressure steam for engine sets. But the 288, but they're both 2662s, which were commonly mallets actually. Although, from what the model looks like, I know that at least the one engine existed. If the model is completely accurate, then it looks like maybe they were initially built as mallets, which if you don't know, a mallet is a compound articulated, so high pressure in the rear cylinders or the rear engine, which then feeds low pressure to the front set. Which is why for example, let's say the Norfolk and Western's Y-class locomotives, like the Y6Bs. I don't know if this was true for the Y6As, but you could see or also let's say the triplex, the Erie triplexes, although it's not as noticeable on those, or let's say 1309. See. CNO, or now Western Maryland, I think, 1309. That 2662 over on the east coast of the United States, which I would actually like to go see. It's a or for what I think my favorite is, besides from 1309, because I like me a 2662, especially for narrow gauge, which is what this is. This is narrow gauge. So I think narrow gauge for a 2662 or a prairie mill, though I've also I mean, I know them as logging mallets, but I've also heard them be called prairie mallets. And as someone who loves either tiny locomotives like a 262 Prairie or giants like a 2A, like a 4A, like a big bull, like a giant articulated, like, I don't know, big boy, because big boy is my favorite. My favorite steam locomotive in general. Although the DNRGW's K series may start giving big boys and a Pure Marquette 1225 run for their money. Okay, no, don't zoom in on my face. I'm trying to delete this. I should probably delete the caboose too. So, well, I lost my. Oh yeah, 2662s, which are the ones we have in the game. But other than that, I think my favorite mallet would be the Santa Fe's 210-10-2s. Those fucking failures of locomotives. It is. But what I'm trying to get at there is if you look at these, like 1309 and 26, the Santa Fe 210-2s, the 3000s, and the Y6Bs, maybe the Y6As. I'm not sure on the Y6As. He's from Norfolk and Western. So, but if you look at those, the rear engine set, which is the low pressure set of cylinders, is a lot No brake. Ah, damn it. But yeah, like the low set of like the rear cylinders are the low pressure cylinders. Cylinders are a lot larger and are larger in size than the rear set cylinders. I was gonna say a lot larger, but it just kind of determines on which locomotive you're looking at. Like the triplexes, they're barely noticeable, although they were mallets, triplex mallets, I guess you would call them. Though they were extremely fucking weird. Like the middle engine set, which was the high pressure, but the low pressure, but one set of cylinders fed the rear engines. I think it was the right side cylinders fed the rear engine under the tender, and then the left one had the front set in front of the fed the front set with the low pressure steam. It's just weird. That entire locomotive was just weird. Weird, but and then so that one surprisingly, the low pressure cylinders aren't actually that much bigger than the high pressure. It's the same on 1309. She's got a lot less of a size difference between the two sets, between the low and high pressure cylinders. Though if you do look at it, you can tell. I don't need that. Like the front, mainly because the front set of cylinders is more like boxed off. Boxed off, I guess you would say. While the rear set is more like angled at the bottom. Then while the fronts are more like a much more sharp transition into the bottom. While the rear ones are a little bit more of a smooth curve instead of a sharp curve. Sort of a little bit more like these pistons here. Actually, probably a good comparison would be on the 2662 in the game. Well, the tender one, because the one that actually belongs to what would be the one that belongs to the game, is a tank engine. But there's another one at the special spawn. and that isn't a tender, it's actually an oil-burning tank engine. Come on. Work now, you stupid couplers. There we go. No. There we go. But, like, while those are a lot more comparable in size between the low and high pressure cylinders, while the front set is, while on, like, the Y6B and the 210-10-2, it's more like it's an obvious size difference between the two. Like, you can just look at it at a first glance and you'll see, oh yeah, this is the high pressure, this is the low pressure. But the reason why the low pressures are bigger than the high pressures is because, well, the high pressure is putting out more power for less steam than the low pressure would. So to keep the sets of cylinders at the same power output, they needed more steam for the low pressure than they needed for the high pressure. Now, just for clarification, now the difference between a simple articulated, which is both engine sets get high pressure steam, and a mallet, which is high pressure then feeds low pressure, and a duplex is in their frame. Mallets and simple articulateds are well articulated. They have a pivot point. The boiler, the cab, the boiler, and the smoke box are all attached to the rear engine set, which comes into, unlike what some people may think, where it's that both engine sets are able to pivot, which I think mostly started from the fact that early model trains had both sets able to pivot so that they could handle the ridiculous curves of model trains at the time. Nowadays, they are the accurate boiler and cab are on the rear engine set, and then it's only the front one that pivots. While a duplex is different because it's all on one rigid frame. The only reason why it's a duplex is because they split the driving wheels into two engine sets, even though they're still on one frame. So I guess that actually means you could say it's less of two engine sets and more of just two driving sets. Yeah, let's just say two driving sets, because that makes a little bit more sense. So, like, you mostly see this. Actually, I think really the only duplexes I really know of, there's 5 of them, and 80% of them, or 4 out of the 5, come from the Pennsylvania Railroad, which I live in Pennsylvania. I was born in Florida, but I live in Pennsylvania now. But, like, they were very weird. I don't know how the Pennsylvanias were the Q1. The first one, I think, was the S1. This one, then the Q1, then the T1, and then the Q2. I don't know if it's in that order. I'm pretty sure the S1 was first, but the Q1, Q2, and T1, I don't know which order they arrived in. So we'll just say that's a critical research failure. And then the only other one was the Baltimore and Ohio N1, which was another 4444, like the T1. That one, I don't really know how it performed, so I'm just gonna leave the N1 alone for now. But but for some reason, like, I know why this was, but both the S1 and the Q1 were basically shit. Total shit. But the T1 and the Q2, they were okay. They did their job, but there were better alternatives they could have used, and, well, in one case, they just used that instead. The problem with the S1, well, first of all, it's way too fucking long. It's a rigid frame, but it's 81 feet long, which is 4 feet short of the big boy. If you don't know, there's only one steam locomotive bigger than Big Boy, at least in length. I don't know about weight. I think in terms of weight, Big Boy is the biggest. It's not the strongest, not the longest. The S1's longer than it by about 8 feet, at the S1B, thanks to its gigantic ass tender. And then I'm sorry to say, Big Boy's my favorite steam locomotive, and even but I have to admit that the DM&IR Yellowstones, I don't know if they actually did outpull the Big Boy. I've heard that they supposedly did outpull the Big Boy. And considering the DM&IR Yellowstones have a tractive effort of 140,000 pounds, while the big boys are at 135,000, so the big boys are 5,000 5,000 weaker, 5,000 pounds of tractive effort weaker. So I wouldn't be surprised if the DM&IR Yellowstones actually did outpull the big boys. The big boy is theoretically more stable due to being a 4884, while the Yellowstones are a 2884. And no, I do not count the steam turbines. I put them in their own classification, sort of like diesel electric. So we got steam, diesel, and then electric. And then between steam and diesel, we have steam turbines. And then between diesel and electric, we have diesel electrics. The thing is, diesel electrics were successful while steam turbines were shit. Yeah, I know we're low on water. I'm pulling up on the tower right now. Okay, maybe I should just stop going on a tangent. I'll rant about the duplexes some other time. So that's the difference. Also, I know I've been here for 22 minutes. Was making a review for the game, and instead I started talking about mallets and articulate. Instead I started talking about mallets. Well, if that doesn't go, I'll leave that. Actually, I have to leave it in. But overall, I do love there's just not really much to say. Oh, I just remembered. I was going to say what one of the things, but then I started going into a tangent about the spawning, and then I went into a tangent about the simple articulateds and mallets. But the thing I love about this is the sound effects, they're very well done. Whistles, very nice change from Roblox Scale Central Railroad, where you just press a button and then it plays a sound. Here, I can actually control the whistle. Can't quill it, though apparently you can. I may just not be able to quill it because I'm on mobile. Well, the engines aren't that fast, but we are dealing with narrow gauge, which, it's gonna be slower. More than a standard gauge. But there's a few other things. But what I love the most about this game is just its sort of simple slice of life feel, which I already talked about basically. And the effects for the locomotive, but the sound and other effects for the locomotives. Like here, we actually have more than just we have whistle steam, but the steam, we have cylinder valve steam that's free moving. It's not like a set thing or whatever. We have dynamo steam, in which can free flow. We have we have the smoke from the funnel, which is also free flowing. Although there's not, there's not as many effects. Like, there's definitely still ways it could improve. Like, really the steam either just is sort of gently floating out of the stack, or it's going like this. But it does look pretty good. But it does look good. And it does flow. I mean, I wouldn't say, like, in terms of the exhaust from the funnel, well, I wouldn't say RO Scale Central's that far behind. And I mean, maybe in some ways, I do like this. I mean, I do like this more. Just generally, because it looks much more like real exhaust from a locomotive. Like, it doesn't look like it's just 100% smoke, black, dirty smoke, or 100% steam. Like, most of the time in RO Scale Central Railroad, it's just black smoke. Or it's black smoke that fades into white, which normally lasts longer. Well, this is more of like a light gray. Or like a gray with white. Like a grayish white. Which is what you want to see with a steam locomotive. A grayish white sort of color. I mean, really, it just determines, like, we see the firebox here. Actually, well, it doesn't have an interior, but... So, smoke would come up through the bottom of it. Well, not smoke. So, air would come up through the bottom of it with the, as this would be. So, the, cylinders are moving, as they should be. Then well, that's drafting air into the firebox. And, well, for example, like with Rio Grande Southern number 20, that thing doesn't smoke because it drafts so damn hard. Because it drafts so fucking hard that you just cannot make it smoke. So realistically, if it's gonna be accurate, it should put out little to no smoke when it's added later today. Well, maybe something like this would put out this. Or something like an oil burner, like the 2662 we have, wouldn't put out much smoke. Would put out smoke, but it would be a bit hard to see, as the bluish-gray smoke that oil burners typically put out is kind of hard to see. Like, you can see it if you're looking for it, but if you're not gonna see it. It's just gonna look like it's not throwing anything. And then if the locomotive is drafting real hard, it's just not gonna put anything out. Anything out but heat. And then if it's if it's burning poorly, you're gonna get a filthy black smoke. If you're burning bad coal, it's gonna be a dirty brown color. If it's burning gray, it's gonna be burning not that. It's burning somewhat well, but it's not burning perfectly either. If it's burning light gray, you're burning relatively good. If it's white, if it's white smoke, you're doing good. If it's this colored or like this colored smoke, this like grayish white smoke, you're doing awesome. So, I mean, there are two engines that do put out different colored smoke than what the rest of them, which is just this. I mean, optimally, I would like if we could just swap it out, like if there was a button on the control, like this misc, would it be? I don't know how you pronounce that. If it had, like, colored smoke, like you'd switch from, like, light, medium, dark. And then you could also have, like, a draft. That would switch a heavy draft. That would that would just cause to have no smoke. If you have the light smoke, it would be what this. If it's medium smoke, it would be what the number 3, which is a 280, and the 460. So the Southern Pacific has, where it's like this sort of like gray smoke, and then dark would be like a black smoke. And then if you have the heavy draft on, it just wouldn't put out anything. It would stop doing it. It would just basically send a signal to it would basically just signal to stop putting out smoke. Or if you could just turn it off in settings to get or we could just have a button in settings that say, hey, no smoke. No smoke. And then you could kind of get the same effect. Although that'd be more like no smoke, no steam or smoke effects, which would turn everything off, probably for lag problems, to help things run smoother. So maybe a heavy draft, so it's only the funnel, would make sense, because everything else should still be doing that. So, I guess in the game lore, that means all of these engines run pretty well, except for number 3, which doesn't, because it's putting out that darker smoke all the time. Which, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna go. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna bother. This video is already 30 minutes. And it's at minimum. So, just go watch Heiss's video. It's 8 minutes. And it's so. Just go watch that. There's a few things I'd like to get into. Basically, I mean, I'll probably review RO Scale Central Railroad, where then I can also go into a detail about what I think they both do equally well. Or things that make them even, or things that one has that the other really doesn't, that I wish the other did. And then actually, one thing right now is the ability to make trains however you want. Rails of DG County, which is what this is called, is gonna sort of get that, while still feeling probably good. Well, I think they're gonna implement that sort of sandbox sort of create what you want in the, here. Because in this update, I read the thing, from what it looks like, they're gonna be adding spawners that are going to be sort of doing where you can do whatever you want with them. You can spawn any locomotive or any piece of rolling stock at certain areas of the map. The two main areas I hope are El Dorado. I mean, it makes sense because El Dorado, actually, here's another thing. You can say this, so I'm gonna hover all over El Dorado. El Dorado is described in the lore as being the HQ. And Aaron is being described as is sort of being described as the freight hub of the railway. So I think that would make sense. But in terms of the effects, this game wins because either they're equal, and in the places where they're not, DG County is better. Mainly in the sound effects. Mainly because for RO Scale Central Railroad, that new steam sound effect they have isn't on most engines. It's on the newer engines that have either gotten remodeled, recently added, reworked, or added to the game. But you know what, quickly, I'm just gonna go to, teleport to El Dorado. So, my favorite engine in the game, but another, on the sound effect, so if RO Scale Central Railroad had that, it would be much closer in terms of the sound effects, but if there was one thing they could add, it'd be the dynamo. I want them to have the dynamo sound, because this has the dynamo sound. So this is the 2662 tender engine, NDEM 365, which, props to the developers, they do actually answer your questions and that. And I did suggest $4.91, got denied, but the developer was actually nice enough to explain why he denied it. And we're still getting $4.94, which is another K37, so I'm happy. But yeah, you hear this humming. Yeah, that's because of this dynamo right here in front of the funnel. That's actually a turbine, an electric generator. It's a steam turbine. No, it doesn't power the locomotive. It's still steam powered. Steam is still fed into the cylinders to push it that way, to push the valve gear. Here, this just powers things like cab lights, which in the game there's no cab lights. But in other things that we do have in the game, headlights. That's what it powers. And also any other electric things, like on Big Boy, they recently gave her a third dynamo. She had two, and yes, I refer to Big Boy as a female. Only 4014, though. Only 4014, though. Yeah, only 4014, the rest are male still. Don't worry, you calm yourself. But that was a good thing. But that I like. If they added that to the other sound, so that you could, in this game where, like, higher speeds, you can't hear the dynamo as it gets drowned out by the chuffing. But at slow speeds or when you're just idling, you can hear it. And if the whistles in the game could be like this, where they're not just buttons and they go for, like, that, and they have, like, a set, like, you could just do that in some way, like how we have them here. I'm not even going to ask for quilling, because even that is just cool enough. And then, also, cylinder valve steam would be cool for the remotes. Maybe only the deluxe remote. Actually, no, I think the regular one should have it, too. You can turn on cylinder valve steam. And also when the engines are starting up, although maybe not, but when the engines are starting underway, it would actually, I'm just going to save that for that video. But the main thing here on the last bit, before I get into quick suggestions, is the multi-spawn. This is where that locomotive comes from, and so is the 478. And here's the 17er, the 46er, who I was talking about. This is where RGS-20 is going to be later. I don't know any other locomotives that are being added. But it's fun. They don't have any lore because they're just here for fun. These are the other two locomotives that I do use. Typically, I have a few settings. I'm not going to talk about them. But in general, it's just the time period. If it's the early, it's just these two. If it's the mid, it's everything here. It's everything in the game outside of the without the multi-spawn included. And then in the modern, it's 365, 478, and these two. Quick suggestions I would like to see. Seems like we're already going to get one of them, so I'm not going to bother with that. One is quillable whistles on mobile. Because they already have quillable whistles sort of in the game. Kinda. It's more of just a pitch changing. But that's what I would like to see in mobile, so we can do that. The other thing would be the Steam stuff I already mentioned earlier. And that's pretty much it. Also, time changing in that it's here. Oh, and the black and white filter too. A few other things I would like to see maybe added is coal features and oil features. I meant the war, so like we can actually load coal in the engines, even if we don't consume it, just for funs. And then also oil, since here to load for oil in the burning engine. And also variants of locomotives. Like maybe 365 with a narrow gauge version of 1309's coal tender, so we can have a coal version of 365. Or maybe like Aaron and Eldorado's variants of the locomotive, of the multi-spawn locomotives. That'd be cool. But otherwise, that's gonna be it. Hope you guys have a good weekend, because this will be released on the weekend, and goodbye.